I'm Manar. I come from Syria, Damascus. I'm 35 years old. I'm married. I have 3 children. Lana is 14 years old. Khalil, my son, is 10 years old. And Hanan is 8 years old. We came here to Austria all together with other members of the family, the brother of my husband and the sister of him, with their families also, and his mother. I was an English teacher. I studied at University of Damascus, and my husband was a lawyer. He had his own office in Damascus with another friend, another lawyer. We are Muslims. There are different kinds of Muslims. So we are in Syria not that strict Muslims like in other Arabian countries, like Saudi Arabia, for example. Syria really was a very open country. It's not a must to put the headscarf unless it's a tradition sometimes in special areas or in your family. But there are so many women without a headscarf, and usually it's a normal relationship between the man and the woman. It's normal, like here. We help each other in everything, the housework, and not everyone, but I think most of the men, they help their wives, especially if the wives are employees or if they got jobs, if they go to work, so the men help their women. So I think it's a normal relationship usually. Most of the time it's normal. We didn't have in our mind before the war that we are leaving or we are going to escape to Europe, and we waited for a long time during the war. We were hoping that things will get better, and every time we say, okay, it will be better next month, in few months, it will not be that bad, but by the time it was getting worse, not better. And we had a lot of discussions because it wasn't easy to leave everything just behind you. It took us a lifetime to have really a very good life, very good, beautiful apartment. We had our own cars. I had my own car, very good jobs, but after these years in the war, things are getting better and getting worse, and it became more dangerous. And in the first place, we were thinking of our children, because you are afraid when you go to school with the children, when you have to leave your home, so you don't know whether you're coming back or not, especially because of the bombs. Syria, in Damascus especially, it was a very targeted city, and in the area where we used to live, it was really getting worse and worse. Every day you have tens of bombs. Many bombs went in the school where I used to teach or to work, and this was the most important reason that we had to decide finally that we have to leave. It was because of the sake of our children. We thought it will be safer when we go to Europe, for example. They will have a better chance to live normally and not to be afraid all the time or worried or anxious about what is going to happen next. So that was the most important thing we were thinking about. It was not easy really to say goodbye to our friends, our family. My parents are still there in Damascus. I have still a brother and a young sister, and also 2 other sisters. It wasn't easy, really. It's very difficult to leave the people you love, you care about, and you don't know whether you will have a chance to see them again or not. It was really very difficult, but finally it was something we had to do. We left Damascus at the 5th of September 2015. We took a bus to Lebanon. It was really difficult on the borders of Lebanon because there were like thousands of people waiting by the borders, and they all needed a permission to just go into Lebanon. Then we had to go by minibus from the borders of Lebanon to Tripoli to take a ship. It was really a miserable ship. We paid a lot of money and we thought it will be a good journey by this ship, but it was overloaded. There were hundreds of people on board, no places for these all people. They were just, when you go up, just you see people laying on the floor. We stayed in this ship for 14 hours until we get into Mersin in Turkey. Then from Mersin to Istanbul, we took a bus for about 17 hours. We stayed for 2 days in Istanbul until we find how should we go on or how should we leave Turkey. You have a lot of names, a lot of people who will tell you, okay, you can come to me, you can come, I can take you out, I can give you a good price, and all these things. They said we have to go by bus and it will be only for 5 or 6 hours until we get to the point where we can get the Schlauchboot, into this boat. But we were in the buses for more than 10 hours. Then we arrived in a it was like a small village. It was very early in the morning, it was still dark, and we had to walk a lot. We walked for about 3 hours with all our luggage. Children were really very tired. We walked and walked, and then we got to that point, and there were so many people waiting, and those people, those smugglers, they were just trying to organize the people. Some of them had really guns with them, so in case there were any problems. Yes, we waited by the shore. It was like a mountain and a hidden place. We were just waiting for our turn. So many people left before us, and when it was our turn, we went into this Schlauchboot. It was not easy, and they put nearly more than 50 people in one boat. And just after 5 minutes after we started, a really big storm began. And it started to rain heavily. The water started to fill in the boat. So the man who was driving, because usually one of the men who are with you, they teach him how to drive this boat for 5 minutes, and then they say go. This is you have to go, for example, 10 minutes ahead, and then you go left or right, or you don't see anything, or you don't know where you are going. So the man who was driving decided just to go back because it was really already full of water. We came back and we were all wet from head to toes. and the bags became very heavy because of the water. We stayed by the shore for more than 2 hours until the rain stopped. It was really cold and the children started to cry. They were feeling cold and we could do nothing. Then those men said, okay, now it's good, the rain stopped. We said that the sea is not really calm yet, but they said, no, it's okay, we know this situation, it's normal. We went again in the boat, and again after just maybe 100 meters in the water, the water started to fill the boat again. So we said no, we are not going to move on. We came back again. They were just shouting from the shore, go on, go on. But we didn't. The man who was driving again, he decided to go back. And another group of people, they went in this schlauchboot and they just go. So we waited again for a few hours, but no one came back. They said, we will bring you a new boat, because all the boats were gone. We waited for hours, but no one appeared. So we had to leave nearly everything we had, because the bags became very heavy. The clothes, most of the clothes we had, the children were really tired and cold, and we walked back. We walked a lot because we didn't know the road or how to go back. So we were lost in these fields or wood for more than 4 hours. Then we arrived to a small village. We found some man. He took us to a small hotel for one night. Again, we paid, I think, $100 for one night. And then the next day they came back and they say, okay, we will take you again. We thought we will go to the same point, but no, they took us to another point. And again, there we had to wait for a long time. And always you have to hide in the woods so the police don't see you. And every few hours there is a boat and a group of people going on this boat, but the smuggler, he said, no, it's not your turn. I have to talk to the people who you paid for. So we have to organize, and we had to sleep in the woods for one night. And it was really very difficult because we had no food, no water, nothing, and the children were really afraid at night. And that night was really cold. Next day in the morning, they said, okay, now it's your turn. We went on this boat, but it was really the most frightening moment. It didn't take a long time until we get into the island. It was Mytilene Island. It was only about 1 hour in this boat, but it was really the most scary of all the journey we had, and we were really afraid. We were all the time praying, and the children were, yes, especially my youngest daughter, she was always crying. She was really afraid. But when we arrived, it was really like a big party. Okay, now we are safe, we arrived here, we are on land. In this island, we also had again to walk for about 3 hours. Then they told us, don't walk anymore, because at the center of this island is about 70 or 80 kilometers away, so you will walk for hours before you get there. Just wait, and there are some buses. They will come to pick you up. And really, there was a bus. It came and took us to the police center. And there they give you paper that says that you are now legally here in this island, but you have to leave within a time. Then again you have to wait for another ship that will take you to Athens. So we waited for 2 days on this island. We then went by this ship from the island to Athens. In Athens we walked again a lot, and then we went by bus to the borders of Macedonia. And always when we have to pass the borders between two countries, we have to walk a lot. And this was really the most difficult thing, especially for the children. We walked a lot, and then we took another bus to the borders of Serbia. In Serbia again we walked. It was at night. We walked for about 4 hours, and then we got into a small village, but all the people, it was really late at night, but they are all awake, waiting for refugees with buses, mini buses with taxis. They said, we will take you to the bus station. They drove only, the bus driver, he drove only 2 kilometers and he left us. He said, this is the bus station. When we left, we discovered that he was lying and this is not the real bus station. So we had to take 3 taxis. Again, we paid $100 for every taxi, and they said, we will take you to the bus station. And then again, we discovered that it was not the real bus station. But we walked just a few minutes, and then there were buses coming to take people from this point. They said, we will take you to Croatia. We went by bus, we paid again, and then the bus took us to a place before the borders of Croatia, and it was the most difficult walking from between Serbia and Croatia. It was midday. It was very hot, and we walked for about 6-7 kilometers. It was really very difficult, but we had to walk, and then again we arrived to like a bus station, and we discovered that there were nearly 10,000 people just waiting for buses and trains. At night there was a train, and there were some policemen, and we asked the policemen, because there were so many single men, not all the people were families, and we said, please just help us to get the children first into the train and the women. And they said, okay, we will try to do it. But when the train arrived, it was really a big mess, because they just were jumping from the windows, from the doors, and hundreds of men just were struggling and fighting to get into this train. And we were just standing by, watching. We couldn't even approach. And yeah, these moments were really very difficult, especially for the children. They were really afraid. And there were many problems on the train. But so we had to sleep in the train station on the floor for one night. Some volunteers gave us some sleeping bags and some blankets just for the children to sleep. And the next day, it was really very long day, but there were more and more policemen and a lot of journalists and media and people from the United Nations, because I think there were so many discussions about what happened the day before or the night before. So they tried to organize the things better. And this time it was really good. There were a lot of policemen. They let the children and women get first on the train, and then the men. And when we asked, where are we going now, they said, we don't know, just go into this train and don't ask. And we stayed in this train for about 6 hours, I think. And then we arrived. They said, okay, now you have to walk with us. We walked again, and it was rainy this time. We walked for about 2 hours. Then there was another train waiting for us, and it took us, we stayed for about 7 hours in this train. And when we left the train, they told us you have to walk this direction, and then you will be in Austria. We walked for about 3 or 4 hours, and then we discovered that this is Austria. We were in a big place where so many people were waiting for buses to take us to different places. So since the first day we were in Austria, everything was really different. We saw that the people are nice, the policemen were nice, and when we saw the nature, the view is really not very different from our country. I don't know what was the reason, but we said, okay, we will stay here. And everyone with us just approved. They say, okay, we will stay here. We went by train from Linz to Salzburg, and once we arrived in the train station in Salzburg, there were so many policemen, so we went to the policemen. We said, hello, we are Syrians, we want to stay here in Austria. They took us to the police center. They made the first, they checked our luggage, our everything. They took the passports and so, and they took us to another place. They said, we will make a like interview, we will take your fingerprints. And yes, we did that. Then they sent us to a small hotel in Salzburg, but it was really full of people. We stayed in this hotel for 3 days, but we had no place to sleep. We slept on the floor, in the corridor of the 3rd floor of this hotel. We got a transfer to Innsbruck. In Innsbruck we were in a camp. It was really nice. We liked it because it was now completely different. There is a room, you can close the door, there are beds, and the members of the working staff there, the ORS, they were really very nice people. This place was supposed to be a distribution center, so you are supposed to stay there for a few days and then you get a transfer to somewhere else. Because we were a big family and we wanted to stay all together, so we stayed in this camp for 40 days. And it was the longest period that someone stayed in this camp. But it was okay for us. We were not annoyed about staying in this camp. There was only one thing, which was the food, because it was just delivered food and it was a little bit strange from what we are used to. But everything else was really good. We met a lot of nice people, we had friends there in Innsbruck, and yes, they tried to do their best to help us. We started for the first time to have Deutsch lessons, German lessons. There were so many volunteers. They made a plan for the people in the camp. We could go to a small room to learn German. Nearly every day there was a German lesson. They also tried to make some activities for the people. They made a trip around the city, the old town in Innsbruck. We visited very nice places. Some friends, they took us to like playgrounds around. They introduced us to these places so we could take the children to play there. After that, we had a new transfer, and it was this time to Vorarlberg, to Feldkirch. We were the first families in a new camp. It was in Noffels, and the first day we arrived, we were really, at the beginning we were shocked because it was just an old factory, and they tried very fast to prepare it for refugees. Yes, in the beginning we felt that it's really strange. It's not like the camp we used to go, we used to be in Innsbruck. It was just a big hall with just walls. No ceiling, no doors, just curtains. It was loud all the time, with a lot of children playing around you. You don't have a door to close to just to relax or to feel a little bit calm. Many of the people, the neighbors, they started to bring different things like scooters, roller skates, bicycles. There was a Spielzimmer, which is a playing room for the children. And it's always just by the time they started to prepare these rooms and to bring everything like the toys and the other things. They brought also a table tennis. Also they brought what do we call Fußballtisch, Tischfußball. The most difficult was the sound of the old heating system. It was really very loud, especially at night. But after a while they changed it also. They changed the heating system. They made a new one. They brought us, after 2 days, small refrigerators and closets or cupboards to put our things in. It was the first time since we left Syria that we could cook ourselves. So it was really the most thing we liked about this camp. So since the first day they gave us what they called pocket money, and we went shopping. It was just, they showed us where Spar is. It was very near, so we went there. We went shopping. We bought something, and we just went back, and all the children started, I want to eat this, I want to eat. They all wanted to eat what they missed since we left. So we started to cook our food, what we used to eat in our country. The first thing we asked for when we were in this camp is the school for the children. So they really worked very fast to make all the children in the camp go to school. Then they organized also some German lessons again. After we left Innsbruck, we stayed for 2 or 3 weeks without German lessons. Then again, some volunteers started to come to the camp to teach us German. Most of the time it was school and studying, learning, because we thought that it's the most important thing for them to learn. Especially they lost few months in this journey, so they have to learn the language and to be good at school, to build a good new future. We stayed in this camp in Nofus for 3 months. In the first place, when we arrived, they said this camp will be maximum for 3 months because it wasn't prepared to live in for a long time. But after a while, they told us now that there are so many people now, and maybe you have to wait longer until they find places for us. We met a woman. She came to see us and to say hello, because she was a friend, or she is a friend of a friend we met in Innsbruck, and she told her about us, and she said maybe just you can go and say hello and meet these people. She came, and she was really very nice woman. She tried to always to do whatever she can to help us, and we were told, as I said, that we are going to stay in this camp just for 3 months. And after a while they said, no, you have to stay longer, but this woman has promised us before that, I'm going to work on this, and I'm sure you will leave this camp, you will not stay for a long time in this camp. But it was really difficult to find a place for us and to convince, for example, the government that we can go out of this camp. And then one of our neighbors, he told us that he knows someone who has got a house, and this house is just closed for more than 2 years, and he will talk to the owner of this house. It took a time, but then, yes, everyone was convinced that it's good, it's a good choice. And when we leave the camp, there will be at least a place for other people to come to stay in our place. So, but really they did a lot. These people who wanted to help us, they worked a lot on this this issue. So they managed everything, they organized everything, and we got this chance to be in this house. Everything is just perfect. It's very nice. It's big enough for us. We are 11 people in this house. The garden is very nice. It's very good for the children, especially when the weather is nice. They can play outside. At least it's a little bit quiet, not like what it was about in the camp. Nearly we have everything we need in this house. It's warm, it's good, it's beautiful. I think the most important thing is that the procedures should be faster, because you can never imagine how difficult is it to live in a camp with a lot of people. Sometimes, or most of the times, they are different levels, different education, different. Yes, they are not the same. So it's not easy always to live with all these people in the same place and to manage everything. I think it was okay for 3 months, but not more. So that's why I feel sorry for the people who are still in the camp, and I hope that they will soon find themselves places to leave this camp. The most important thing I wish now is really to get well education for my children. I hope that I will learn the language very fast and get a good chance to have a job. And my husband also. It's not easy for him because he was a lawyer, he was very important in this society, in our country, and now he feels that he's really it's not easy for him. I hope he will learn the language as well and he will find a good job so we can live normally as we lived in Syria. I wish the war will come to an end, not only in Syria, in all the other countries where there are problems, like Iraq, like Yemen, like Libya. There are so many different countries with a lot of destruction, a lot of sadness, and especially my country. I hope that peace will come soon, so at least the people who are still there can live normally, can live peacefully, can go on in this life. I hope peace will be in everywhere in the world.